Welcome to Movie Speeching. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take good care. Pending Train at 8:23, Ashita Kimitu, is the name of the movie. Please like and subscribe to get every update. Japan 2023 participants boarded the train and headed to work, each busy with their own work, scrolling through Instagram feeds and making acquaintances on social networks, and discussing plans for the evening, not knowing that in just a few minutes, their lives would change forever. Suddenly the train speed increases and strange things begin to happen. A bottle cap rolling on the floor of the car suddenly disappeared. Passengers began receiving warnings about the strong earthquake on their phones. The train then entered a dark tunnel and stopped suddenly. Everyone regained consciousness, confused by what had happened. A passenger opened the door and people screaming, pushing each other rushed toward the exit, jumping down the high steps. But when they got out, they couldn't believe their eyes. Traces of the civilized world have disappeared and they are surrounded by the ruins of a destroyed city overgrown with trees and grass. Furthermore, all the carriages disappeared without a trace, except for the fifth one. Over time, the passengers began to get to know each other. One of those people, Shirahama, a firefighter, checked on the wounded and suggested checking the tunnel behind the cart. He is joined by a girl named Katana and a boy named Hayashima, who also want to find out what happened. Meanwhile, city police could not determine where the last two cars went while the rest of the train as well as the passengers were still intact. 3 volunteers entered the tunnel and walked for a long time in the darkness of the underworld. Suddenly, they noticed a light ahead and rushed towards it, but when they came back out, they were surprised. There is nothing around that can remind them of 2023 with its skyscrapers and technology. Just a vast, lifeless desert. Shocked, the unfortunate trio returned to their comrades. At first, residents did not believe their reports, but after Hayashima showed a video recording of the surrounding area, they were forced to accept the new reality. After 7 hours, everyone was waiting patiently for a rescuer when a girl named Rini secretly searched Hayashima's bag and found a letter stamped by the criminal department, making her suspect that this guy was a criminal. Rini then snatched some food from Katana's bag, but, thinking she had been seen, threw the package away. Hayashima picked it up and brought it on the train as soon as Katana discovered the theft. When she saw it in the guy's hand, the passengers accused her of stealing. In addition, Rini also brought back a letter from the colony. Upset, Hayashima denied the accusations and announced his departure. At that moment, Shirahama took out a crate of fruits and offered to share them. While Katana distributes the food, one of the men watches a video he made earlier, clearly showing Rini stealing food. Realizing that Hayashima was innocent, Shirahama and Katana ran after him, saving the man from nearly falling into a deep hole. To express his gratitude, he admitted that he worked as a barber and that he was 30 years old, but he refused to explain the origin of the letter from the colony. Night falls, passengers try to sleep, but many cannot sleep because they worry about their future. In the morning, people began to realize that they might never return home. Shirahama tries to bring the scattered people together, but a friend asks him not to take responsibility for other people's lives. The firefighter later admitted that because of him, his colleague was injured and lost the ability to walk. Now he believes he must help everyone he can. Together, they caught up with those who had left and persuaded them to return to the car to solve the problem together. Seeing this, Hayashima remembered his brother was in prison and the letter in his pocket was from him. As fate would have it, he had to take on the responsibility of raising his younger brother, and he still felt guilty when his older brother became a criminal. Meanwhile, some passengers explore around and discover the ruins of a tall tower. This is especially strange because it was reported that its construction would be completed by 2026, and one of the passengers found a can in the woods dating from that year. Among them, a biologist encountered a plant that took 30 years to genetically modify. It turns out they're in Earth's far future, and it's not a happy discovery. At the same time, in 2023, all channels broadcast information about the disappearance of 2 carriages carrying at least 100 passengers. Night fell and many people fell into despair as Katana and Shirahama placed plastic barrels on the roof of the car in the hope that it would rain. In the morning, the biologist drew the attention of others to the dense greenery, which meant there must be a body of water nearby. A group of young people set out to explore the forest. On the way, Hayashima confessed that his parents were criminals. Then he saw a frog. This means that the water is very close, but ahead are impassable cliffs that can only be climbed with rope. The group returns to the ship and cuts the rope to the cliff. Shirahama climbed to the top and shouted happily when he saw the waterfall. But looking around, he was terrified. Instead of Mount Fuji, in front of it is a long stretch of sea. Returning, he told the others, and everyone began to speculate about what had happened to their planet. At night, everyone falls asleep, but the oldest passenger, Tanaka, comes out and sees a stranger. But when he said it, no one believed him. Then it started to rain, helping people get water and even bake cakes. Meanwhile, the biologist continued to study the surrounding wildlife, found some edible plants, and showed them to the others. Not only that, Katana also ate a poisonous berry, but fortunately her poison was not fatal. The news that the girl had recovered shocked passengers. They finally realized that if they sat still, they would not survive. People got to work and even made bamboo utensils. Bank cards turn out to be good knives. A group of young people brought water from the waterfall to prepare herbal soup. But after dinner, some people felt nauseous and the biologist discovered some poisonous berries in the communal pot. Someone remembered seeing Tanaka near the chamber pot, who was not among them. Shirahama went looking for him but tripped and lost his torch. After a while, he returned without Tanaka but with Hayashima, the previously lost hair-cutting tools that he missed so much. In the morning, the biologist announced to everyone that he was going to look for a nearby river. His friends went with him, but in the forest, they met a stranger who injured the biologist and fled. The boys take him back to the train where, luckily, there is a medical student who is providing first aid to the injured. The others helped as much as they could and prayed for the guy. Then, Tanaka suddenly returned from the forest. It turns out he used to work for a security company and was able to demonstrate how to create traps around the camp. Reni asked Hayashima to do his hair, and it wasn't long before there was a line for the guy. Meanwhile, Shirama and Katana noticed a teenager caught in one of the traps, but the youth managed to escape and run away on his own. His friends rushed after him and soon found themselves at the edge of the river, but the boy asked them to wait for him there and disappeared into the forest. Hayashima noticed their disappearance and caught up with the couple. At this time, the teenagers turned around and led his friends to car number 6, which was mysteriously several kilometers away from car number 5. Passengers of the 5th car are greeted by the leader of the 6th car, Yumoto. Their car was lucky to be close to the river where there was a lot of fresh water and fish. In addition, among them was a builder who, under his guidance, was able to quickly set up a camp and even build a kitchen and toilet. The newcomers find out who injured their biologist. He admitted that he did it out of fear, thinking they would attack him. He bows deeply, apologizing for his actions, and Yumoto admits that he believes returning to the past is possible. The man tells them that at first they found a small boat on the river, where he managed to repair the radio and picked up a signal that appeared to be from Canada, which mentioned the year 2060. From what he heard, the man understood that in the year 2026, a disaster occurred. A giant asteroid fell on Earth, causing a strong earthquake and tsunami around the world, instantly killing billions of people. Network. Dust released into the atmosphere blocked sunlight, leading to the extinction of remaining species. But the important thing is that the asteroid did not fall by accident, but was space debris because in addition to state corporations, satellites began to be launched by anyone who wanted them. One of the probes collided with a satellite, then fell onto an asteroid causing a deviation in its orbit. So it was a man-made disaster. That's why it's so important to look back on their year and change the future. Inspired by the example of the 6th car, the passengers decided to swim along the river. Meanwhile, Tanaka continues to deteriorate, turning himself into a doll from a tree branch and talking to it. In the morning, the bath is ready. For the first time in several days, everyone was able to bathe in hot water and wash their clothes. And the boys find a strange stone on the riverbank that Yumoto discovers exists. He sent his men to find it, but Reni noticed some strangers, and one of them blurted out that according to their leader, this stone could help them get home. The girls argue about whether they need to go back or not, and Reni pushes Katana away. She falls and accidentally moves a layer of dirt, where a dead body is discovered. Meanwhile, Tanaka reads a newspaper announcement about finding a murderer in his description. Just then, Rennie and Katana were attacked by guys from the 6th car, but Rennie escaped and ran to her where she told about the body found, while Katana escaped from the guys through the forest. The 5th car decided to make weapons while Shirahama and Hayashima ran to the neighbors, but the girl was not there, and meanwhile Katana had reached the boat. Yumoto was forced to confess to everyone that he killed one of the passengers, who suddenly became aggressive and started attacking everyone with a knife. This is why he is recognized as a leader. The boys returned home hoping Katana had returned, but she was not there, and the others were rushing to go to the 6th car and punish the guilty. The boys went looking for the girl again. Katana was hiding on the boat when Yumoto entered. He pretended to call an unknown station, but the girl saw that the line had been cut. The man discovered her and admitted that he did not want to return to the past because he intended to create a new society here. He then tied Katana up and locked her in the cabin where her screams could not be heard. In the morning, the passengers of the 5th car attempted to attack the neighbors when a woman suggested they go back and find a building to hide in. At that moment, the guys in the 6th car went to the neighbor to get something but fell into a trap. A fight began when the 6 remaining passengers of the carriage arrived, and among them were more men. The fight turns into a real battle and is stopped by the appearance of Katana on the run, who accuses Yumoto of lying. He was forced to admit his deception, but he just wanted to lift everyone's spirits. However, the passengers decided to expel the former leader. Before leaving, the man handed over a ship's log containing information about the tower that could help them return to the past. Meanwhile, those searching the building reached the tower and found glowing meteorite fragments there. And in 2023, scientist Ray, after examining the surveillance camera recordings, discovered that a wormhole appeared in the tunnel at the moment the 2 carriages disappeared, apparently as a result of distortion of the space-time continuum. The passengers study the diary found by Yumoto and learn the exact date of the disaster. In addition, they also have an asteroid fragment with an extraordinary magnetic charge. One of the passengers recalled that on the day of departure he saw something in the sky that looked like a shooting star. In the past, Ray, analyzing the same event, concluded that it was the explosion of a future supernova. There are also experts who explain that supernovae occur in space when a star reaches the end of its life and explodes, releasing a huge amount of energy. Apparently, this created the time rift that both cars fell into. That means they need to reopen this wormhole. In the evening, a strong storm began, forcing people to find more reliable shelter than horse-drawn carriages. Tanaka opened the back door leading into the tunnel. Unexpectedly, a strong wind tore his doll apart and sucked it into the deep hole caused by the storm. But as soon as the storm subsided, the wormhole disappeared, and in 2023, scientists found Tanaka's doll. The passengers from the future conclude that to summon the wormhole, they need a powerful energy source, so they begin searching for the remains of the power lines. Searching each station, passengers found an electrical transformer station where working equipment of one kind or another was kept. They send enough electricity into the tunnel to stabilize the wormhole. With the arrival of the next storm, enough to return to the past, the storm begins at night, powered by the power transformer, which the wormhole opens, and everyone gets in the car except Tanaka, who refuses to go back. The car was swallowed by the hole and ran somewhere in space and time until its doors were opened by security guards claiming that they arrived on May 1st, 2026, meaning not only in a few months the asteroid will fall. After going through quarantine, the passenger told officials, presenting meteorite fragments and unusual plans for the future as evidence, that officials did not believe stories about a coming apocalypse. The internet then created a buzz about the incident, with the time travelers finding fans, which helped maintain interest in the traveler's story about the coming apocalypse. Meanwhile, scientist Ray believes the Voyagers are telling the truth because he is also tracking the asteroid. One of the passengers posted an appeal on the internet informing ordinary people of the impending danger, and one passenger held a high position in the government before the trip to the Minister of Defense. She listens to her former colleague and reports to him that the government believes them and is preparing to launch a rocket capable of changing the orbits of passing asteroids Earth. Time passed. The day of the disaster approached at dawn. The travelers decided to gather on the station platform to find out if the disaster could have been avoided and if they had not all perished together, but the soldiers had completed it, successfully completed his mission and changed the orbits of the meteorites. Save Humanity from Complete Extinction, a rather unusual series in which there are many different theories about the impending disaster of humanity, and the end of the story is very relevant, emphasizing that life on Earth, the soil, is the result of every living creature's actions, and the future of this planet is the shared responsibility of humans. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, leave a comment about your favorite movie, and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.